So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Joe. What we'd normally do is have a few Q&As, but I think Joe is very informal and he'll answer questions if you throw them in the chat, and we'll try and moderate. We'd sometimes have breakout at the end, but I think this session might generate enough questions for the group to keep us all interested rather than breaking this up into different sections. So, Joe, many thanks for taking the invite to do the talk, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, thanks for the invite, Steve. Yeah, good to be here, everybody. And I mean, little bit about me. Why have they dragged me out to do this? I mean, as Steve said, I'm in the AI space because I'm a geek. I started out life as a programmer in the 1982, I think, was my first year as a programmer, and then I became an analyst. Then I went into product management, and then got into more general management, in multinational corporations, and in a kind of 20-odd year career, I ran a lot of process improvement projects using Six Sigma, using lean, using various flavors of total quality management. I mean, there's so many different things. It is being recorded, Maria. Yeah. So I did this for a lot of years. I did process improvement. Came over to Ireland in 2000, plugged in, did the MBA up at the Smurfit Business School, and then quite liked it there. So I threw my job in with GE, wrote them a master's program in project management, and that's what I've run since then. So I run 2 programs up at Smurfit, to the part-time and the full-time masters in project management, and I teach on various other programs as well. So I do that a couple of days a week. I consult regularly with businesses, large and small, and lots of non-profits. I run a photography training business. I do a bit of charity work. I'm chair of the board of Shine, a big mental health charity, and I've got a wife, Penny, who is a psychotherapist. We're based in Lucan. A 11 and 12-year-old now, Danny and April. They've just flipped over their birthdays, and 2 grown-ups, 21 and 22 as well. So there's a little bit about me. This AI stuff I love. I mean, I got into this when ChatGPT came out in the end of November 2023, wasn't it? I think. And I started reading about it and started writing about it. I've written a couple of books on AI, mainly around AI in education. And I'm doing talks on AI to all kinds of audiences: institutional audiences, corporate audiences, non-profits, just people with an interest. 3 or 4 talks a week now. So Steve, this is not going to be the same talk as the one you saw. Because it's more than 2 days ago, and things move on. So I'm not going to assume any knowledge per se of AI, but I mean, also there's no such thing as a silly question today. So don't be shy, throw things in the chat, ask a question, and if I've got the answer, I'll give it you. If I haven't, I'll find out, and I will update the document that I'm going to share with you as well. So I'm going to share my screen. Show entire screen. That one. So are you seeing AI today, deploying AI now? Yep. Cool. All right. Using a thing called Notion. So you see at the top there, built with Notion. And I discovered Notion about a year ago, and it's become my second brain. And you can see, so we've got automatic things like it'll generate you a table of contents as long as you use headings and things like that. You can put a link into another Notion document, and there's all my details and phone number, and I do an AI newsletter. You can link to that there. All that kind of stuff is in there. And then you can add links and things to other stuff. Now, we're not going to get through everything that's in this today, but make a note of the URL. I will share the URL with you. Okay, so if I actually flick over into Notion itself, you can come up to share, and I've published this as that web page that you showing you. So I'll give you that in the chat. So that now gives you access to that web page. And if I add any information to my Notion page, it will immediately be reflected up into the web page. And all those links will work and all the rest of it. Okay, so I find this really, really useful, and you can just hover over the right hand side there, all these little lines, and you've got a kind of list of all the things that are in the table of contents. Okay, so just on AI built into it. So if you create a new Notion document and you want to do some stuff in here, yeah, you can just hit the space bar and say, tell me about lean. Yeah, and it has AI built in. Okay, and it's like ChatGPT or whatever. It's giving us an overview of lean. Okay, so really cool. And if you like, you can continue, make it longer, do other things. All right, so I just say done, and that's in here. Now, in terms of kind of like how do we leverage AI? Well, somebody's coming through in the background there. How do we leverage AI in business, and what actually is AI? I mean, let's not assume everybody knows what this is. AI stands for artificial intelligence. A lot of people think it only started about 2 years ago. It didn't. It started in the 1950s. IBM has been working on artificial intelligence since then, and the Watson project at IBM was one of the earliest projects. And it's trying to get computers whether AI is approaching this thing called GI, which is kind of general intelligence. Okay, and when it does that, is that the day that Skynet comes to reality? Is that the day that the Terminator films actually turn into into reality, and the robots take over the world? We don't know is the answer, but we'll see. So what we've got now are a set of tools: ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, Hugging Face, Perplexity. These are all different AI tools which will allow you to generate images, video now, and audio as well, in a way that we've not really been able to do before, because these AIs are trained on millions and millions of documents that the AI companies, whether they should have done or not, they have gone off and they have gathered all this information from the internet and from whatever sources they could find, and they have trained these AIs on this information. And they're continuing to do this. Yesterday, Claude, which is one of the OpenAI models, Anthropic's model for AI, released Claude Sonnet, which is a new version of Claude, which is supposed to be even better than the best ChatGPT model, which is, we've all been singing the praises of for the last 3 weeks since that came out. So there's this constant leapfrogging of stuff. So one of the things I've done under Key AI Links is I've given you links to all the big AI tools. So if you've just played with ChatGPT, go have a play with Copilot, go have a play with Perplexity, and I'm going to show you Perplexity in a bit more detail in it. Go have a play with Claude. Okay, and as I say, this one has now been updated. It's possible in Ireland and Europe. Yeah, and yesterday it got a powerful new model. Yeah, called Sonnet. Okay, so I've just kind of updated that document. Refresh your web page. That's up on the web now. Okay, so it's really good for doing this kind of interactive, teaching, education, work kind of stuff, because you can actually collate a web page or a Notion page together with your colleagues and things in real time, and update it in real time and stuff, which is really cool. Google has Gemini. One thing that is a big thing that's coming now. So we've had about 18 months where we've been getting used to this cool new technology. And people have been playing with ChatGPT and Claude and the other things, and learning how to do this thing called prompting, because we have to unlearn what we've been trained on for the last 25 years. We've been trained to interact with the computer over the last 25 years by typing in a single question to Google, and it gives us a set of links. Okay, and that's how we've been trained. That's how we basically interact with the computer a lot of the time, unless we're writing documents and things. AI is so much more powerful than that. So what you need to do, and I've done a bit of this. I've kind of given you a bit more of this down at the bottom. Is you need to start thinking about your AI not just as something. Here we are, how to talk to a chatbot. Okay, treat it as a real personal assistant. Treat it as a person, and have a conversation with it. Okay, so when you start your discussion with a chatbot, and it doesn't matter which one, okay, give it as much information as you can about what it is you're after. Okay, give it some context. Maybe say, I want you to act as a process improvement expert who is, who knows all about process improvement in the chemicals industry. Okay, so you're setting the chatbot up with a role. Yeah. I want you to leverage, these particular models, these particular sets of standards or whatever. And as long as those are open, publicly available models and standards, it will now fold those into its responses for you. Yeah. A really good question to ask in the discussion is, what else should I ask you for to make this even more useful? Yeah, what questions should I be asking that I hadn't thought to ask? Yeah, what are the unknown unknowns here? Give me more information. Right. If you use ChatGPT, and if I just flick over into ChatGPT, okay, let's just open a new tab up, open up ChatGPT, okay, log in. I'm always amazed at how few people know about this. A lot of people have got ChatGPT and use ChatGPT. Now, if you come into ChatGPT today and this doesn't say ChatGPT 4.0, but you've got that little drop down, you might still be using the old version, which is the not very powerful version, which is 3.5. Click on that drop down and make sure you're using ChatGPT 4.0. This is the latest, greatest ChatGPT. Okay, I don't know why I'm cutting out. Somebody's just popped in the chat. I'm cutting out. I'm on a wired connection with an Ethernet link into my router, so there's nothing more I can do about it. I'm afraid. We'll just have to hope it stays working. So make sure you're using 4.0. Okay. Now they've kind of moved things around a bit. Somewhere there should be a little icon or something. This is your account. It's in the top right hand corner now. Okay. Come down to customize ChatGPT and open this up. And this gives you two windows, and you can put, I think, 1,500 characters, I think it is, in each window. Okay. So the top one, tell ChatGPT a bit about you. Okay, what your interests are, what your knowledge areas are, where you work, what you work at, that kind of thing. Okay, that's all right. That gives them a bit, the chatbot, a bit of context and changes its responses somewhat. But the bottom box, how would you like ChatGPT to respond? This completely changes the game with ChatGPT. Okay, so you can put whatever you want in here. Okay, and this I've put a load of stuff in, and I've picked this up from various sources and then tweaked it myself, and it makes ChatGPT quite direct. It gets rid of a lot of the fluff and stuff like that. Okay, I'm doing a lot of work around things like inclusivity, accessibility, universal design for learning, that kind of thing. So I'm kind of asking it for that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I have at the end here is, after a response, provide 3 follow-up questions. Okay, so if I now ask ChatGPT a question, tell me, about lean. Okay, it will give me an answer, but at the end of the answer, it will say, it'll give me 3 follow-up questions. Okay, and this is really good because it almost takes you into a conversation rather than you having to kind of think of your next questions or whatever. Okay, so here we are, we're getting some good stuff about, you know, lean, and when we get to the end, Q1, Q2, Q3. Yeah, now Q2. Okay, what are the common pitfalls organizations face when implementing lean? Yeah, so all I need to say is Q2. Yeah. And now it gives me stuff on that. So we're going down the rabbit hole now. Where this gets even more useful is download ChatGPT on your phone. Okay, download the ChatGPT app. And if you download the ChatGPT app on your phone, when you open it up, there's a little kind of head, what are those, you know, the cans that you put over headphones? Yeah. ChatGPT is now listening to you and will talk back to you. So rather than you typing stuff in, you just ask it a question and it took the answer back to you. Yeah. So I use this in the car now. I drove down to Cork a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. And I needed to put a new talk together. So I just started talking to ChatGPT about the topic, and we just started to explore different ideas and things. Got down to Cork. I'd spent a couple of hours getting loads of great ideas and stuff. When I get back to my computer, that is in the chat in the right-hand side. So all the text of all that discussion, yeah, is there, and I can now go to it and I can incorporate it into documents and I can use it and all the rest of it. So, you know, you could do that on a run, you could do that on a walk around the park or whatever. So ChatGPT and these tools are not now restricted to just being used on the computer. You can actually talk to them now. And I don't know, I think differently when I'm in a real conversation, when I'm talking, than sometimes when I'm writing. I don't know, it takes you onto a different kind of consciousness, I think, when you're just talking to somebody or, you know, effectively somebody. All right. Can you use AI to solve problems on a particular machine if you know its make and model number? Yeah, I mean, these AIs are pretty good at that. I mean, I had a problem with my kettle the other day, and I went on to ChatGPT. I took a photograph of the kettle, yeah, and I also took a of the barcode underneath, which actually and serial number of the kettle and stuff. And I said, where can I order a spare element for this kettle? Yeah, and it popped me up a link to a parts supplier that had this kettle element in it. So if it's publication, they can, you know, these AIs can often find it, and they can process information in images as well as in text now. So this is really clever. I want to show, and I've given you my my custom instructions here at the bottom of the Notion document. Okay, so feel free to grab those, adjust them to suit if there are any use in UK English. Yeah, I hate it when the chat GPTs give you everything in American English, stuff like that. Right, great question, Steve. What about security of information? Okay. Obviously a key concern, particularly if you're using these chatbots in a corporate environment. You know, what if you upload a document or whatever, or ask it questions? ChatGPT has always had a problem with this. Okay, but one of the things that they introduced quite recently is this thing called temporary chat. Okay, so you again come up to the drop down there, turn temporary chat on, and your new chats now, so it puts you in temporary chat. You see, it's like incognito mode. Yeah, and this stuff will not be fed into their training model. Now, what they say is because you're online, it's still on their servers, but it's only on there for 30 days, and they don't do anything with it, and it's not allowed anywhere else. You know, so it doesn't go anywhere else. Okay, so ChatGPT now has this mode. If you go into this mode, Nothing is saved in your chat history. Okay, so this is just a one-off chat, and then you've lost the information unless you copy it and paste it somewhere else. Okay, put yourself back into regular mode, and now the stuff that you do appears in your chat window. Okay, the other tools, Claude particularly, so if we go back up to the top, this one was created people who actually left OpenAI to make ChatGPT because they were unhappy about the kind of ethical approach OpenAI take to date. They were basically saying, if we can find it, we're going to use it. We're going to train our model on it and all the rest of it. And they got away with that for 12 months or so, until the world woke up and found, figured this out. Claude has always been built on a much more ethical model, so that you have to kind of opt in to allowing it to use your data to be training data, if you like. So Claude is very good, and it also has some other benefits. It's got a much bigger temporary memory. They call it a token window. Okay, basically means you can load more stuff into the chat that it will continue to remember while your chat extends. You can load more documents, more information in, so you can have kind of more in-depth, longer discussions generally using Claude than you can with, say, ChatGPT. Okay, so I use Claude a lot. But my go-to app these days for searching and for general AI use is Perplexity. Okay, I don't know whether you've come across Perplexity, but perplexity.ai. Okay, and you can see it's very similar, setup to ChatGPT. Yeah. Now, you do exactly the same as you do with any other ChatGPT issue. Okay, Puneet's just asked a question in the chat. I'm just going to grab that there. Okay, let's see what Perplexity tells us about this. Okay. Now, Perplexity's gone off, and it gives you sources. ChatGPT very often doesn't. So you can go off and check that these sources, are appropriate and stuff like that. Okay, and it's now starting to answer Puneet's question. Okay, anytime you see a little circle like this, that's pointing to a source. And if I click on that, yeah, it'll open up the source. Okay, so you can see where it's going to for information. And at the end of your things, you've also got the sources there at the top. You can click on that, and here's the sources that it's used. Okay, now if you use the paid version of Perplexity, they've just added in last week an amazing new facility called Pages. So I want to convert this to a web page that I can share with you. Okay, convert this to a page. So that little search article that it just put together, okay, it's now converting to like a blog post page. Okay, so here we are, and it's writing it out, and there's your table of contents for this. Okay, and it's the sources again. Okay, so everything is sourced. Now we're still in edit mode. Find me some media about this waste from unverified information. Yeah, so it's not actually finding anything there. So let's just put in something like lean waste. Let's see what it gives us back. Okay, so it's pulling out some stuff. All right, so there we are. We've got a management. I can come in here and edit and switch this into detailed, and it will rewrite that section now and give me a bit more detail, maybe pull me in a few more sources, this kind of stuff. Okay, and then again I can ask it for some media, and it'll also pull in both images and video. Sometimes if there's training videos that it finds on YouTube or whatever, you can put those in. Okay, so there we are. and we can go off and we can create new sections if we want, you know, another section about something else. We can, you know, tell me about, I don't know what, I don't know, you know, machine instruction maintenance and lean. Helps if you can spell, doesn't it? There we go. Okay, and it'll add a new section in about that, and you can go off and edit that and stuff like this. Okay, so you can very quickly generate this, and then if I publish that, that's now a live web page, and there's the link in the chat. Okay, to that web page. Okay, and I can save that now. I can add that to a collection. So I've created a lean collection already, and over in the left-hand side here, yeah, here's all my collections. Okay, so there's a collection, a lean collection, and I've got 3 pages that I've got on lean that I just generated in Perplexity. Okay, so this is a great example of a way that maybe a learning and development operation in an organization could create a set of pages. I came off earlier on this morning. One of the things I was doing this morning was I was delivering a talk to the Royal Photographic Society on Affinity Publisher. Yeah, so I've created a set of short kind of how-to guides on Affinity Publisher. Yeah, and what I did was I just pulled all those guides together. Yeah, and I popped them in Notion. So if I go back to Affinity Publisher, here we are. So then I created a Notion page, and I can put in the Zoom link for going to the Notion page. Here's the videos from the sessions, and then here's all those Perplexity web pages, yeah, all linked together. So, you know, if somebody comes to this page now, how do I create a table of contents? Click on that, brings up the table of contents. That's a video about how to do it, and here's all the information about it. And this stuff takes minutes. And if you've got some domain knowledge, you can view obviously what the AI is creating, and you can, you know, you can say, well, actually that's not right, or whatever. You've still got to be careful. Most of the time I find Perplexity doesn't hallucinate too much, but you can't assume that. So you have got to check the sources. You have got to just read through. I did a page the other day, and it quoted 2 American academics, and had this, you know, had links to their web pages. When I clicked on them, they didn't exist. Okay, so you know, you've got to be careful, but it can really shorten the time down. Can the images it pulls be subject to copyright? Yeah, I'd be surprised if they're pulling copyright images down. I suspect it's probably, you know, Creative Commons images, because there's a limited set of images that do come down. But I can't be 100% on that. Okay, so that's there. Have I missed any questions so far, Steve? I think I've been catching up on them, haven't I? Yeah,
I think it's okay. Yeah, it's excellent, Joe. Thanks.
yeah, okay, all right. So if we come back into Notion then, and I come back to my Notion page, what else have we got around kind of lean particularly? So I kind of started to think about, you know, what could we do? So, you know, creating a guide to lean for Irish SMEs, something like that. Yeah. Okay. So let's start with this prompt. Create me a beginner's guide to implementing lean. Yeah. And we'll do that in Perplexity. So I want a new thing. Create me a beginner's guide. Okay. So here we are. What is lean? What are the benefits? Yeah, some principles and stuff like that. Okay, and this is all good stuff. Okay, steps to implement lean, typical project, you know, gain leadership and stuff. It's all Kotter's 8 steps of change, some lean techniques and things. culture and a mindset. I mean, anybody who's done lean knows it's not just about the tools, it's about getting, you know, the management and the staff involved in a mindset of quality improvement and stuff like that. Okay, so I want a bit more on this. Okay, so rewrite that for me, perhaps. Yeah. So we can choose what we want to use to rewrite it. So there we are. I've asked it now to use Claude Sonnet, which is the new super duper Claude. Okay, so that's going to give me a new article and stuff like that. Yeah, there were lots of search engines in the past before Google became the default. Owen's just asking this question in the chat: is the same likely to happen with these LLMs? Google is running scared at the moment. They make $100 million every day of revenue on search. Okay, you know, every time you do a search in Google, you see all the ads and all the rest of it. 100 million a day revenue Google search make. Yeah, and there is a percentage of that use that is now moving over to the AIs, and particularly Perplexity. Okay, I think they've gained 7% of the market or something, which is huge. So what we're going to see is Google have tried to improve their search engine. They introduced in the US a couple of weeks ago little AI snippets at the top, and I don't know whether you read in the news. You know, there was the one about you're supposed to put glue on pizza, and you know, a couple of stones a day are good to eat and stuff like this. I mean, scary stuff. Yeah. So they're not doing very well. They keep dropping the ball when it comes to, you know, they're releasing their AIs and having them ready for full-time use. I must admit, of all the AIs, Gemini is the one that I use least, which is Google's AI. So Perplexity is up at the top, along with Claude, and then we've got Copilot from Microsoft, which feeds directly back into ChatGPT, which, you know, is the granddaddy of them all. Okay, but putting together guides and things like this, you know, starts to become very quick and very easy. Now, you know, there's things they need to improve on these pages. So I convert that to a page, and I can now start to add sections, and I can bring in media, but I can't directly edit the text, for instance, yet. Yeah, so I can tell it rewrite the section, but then if I want to just change one line or something, I can't go in and edit it. I'm sure they'll add that, you know. So it's not perfect yet, but it's getting very, very good to put material together very quickly. And when you are operating, when you're running kind of process improvement, a lot of the time you are needing to bring the staff and the different stakeholders up to speed, aren't you? You know, what's this lean thing? Yeah, TQM, what does that mean? Kind of Six Sigma. Yeah, oh yeah, I mean, I got to go and do a green belt or a, you know, that. So what are all these tools and everything? So certainly from a training perspective, which is, you know, and I sit in the education space, this kind of stuff is useful. Right, so Puneet has asked another question again. Okay, some of the key barriers to lean management are lack of customer focus, top management commitment, lack of alignment. Okay, so okay, tell me how to overcome. Okay. And this is giving us references to, you know, articles about how this has been done. Okay, so how do we get overcome the barriers? Yeah, in this particular. So there's a little case study. Okay, now it's given us some stuff. Yeah, but I could ask for more. They give me more on that, and I could, you know, add another section and follow up that with, okay, so resistance to change. Add a section. What are the best practices in dealing with resistance to change in a lean project? Yeah. And I mean, as a project manager, you know, these are fairly standard. You can almost never over communicate. So you've got to communicate well. Yeah, involve employees in the process and the discussion, cross-functional teams. Get you and publish them. Yeah, quantify your value. You know, make sure you're good training, lead by example, all standard stuff. So this kind of stuff you can expand and you can find out more using these tools. And going back to the security question, and I addressed this in one of my recent newsletters. I do a newsletter every week on AI, okay, on LinkedIn. It's just called AI for Educators. There's a link to it in the section about me at the top of the Notion page. Okay, so I did one this week on locally run AIs. So what you can do now is there are a load of different tools, and I've given you links and told you about them here, where you can download a kind of wrapper program, and then you can download AI models, the LLMs, and run those on data just on your machine. So now you're asking questions about your data, and it's not going to the cloud. You don't have to worry about the security because it's on your machine and it's nowhere else. And this is going to be a huge growth area in the next year or so, because so many corporations and so many companies have got this real worry that here's in our emails is in our data set that's on our intranet. And I don't want that going out into the cloud to be sucked up and used by OpenAI or anybody else. So tools that allow you to deploy local AIs, which will give you all the power of dialogue and, you know, reading through a million different documents at a time and pulling all that. How much time in current companies is spent finding information? The information exists in the company somewhere, but it takes us so long to find it, to surface it, to parse it. Well, if you've got an AI and you can ask it, you know, right, you know, a particular question, and it can see all those documents across all the projects that have been run over the last 10 years, yeah, and pull all that together, and then say, oh yeah, and those documents were written by these people, yeah, who currently have these email addresses and these phone numbers. Yeah, I mean, that is going to save huge amounts of time, that kind of stuff. So efficiency gains, you know, lean and you know, other process improvements over the last 10, 20, 30 years. I mean, going back to Deming in the, you know, and Duran, okay, has very much been focused on process improvement, but we haven't been very good at improving our day-to-day processes. It's been mostly manufacturing processes, hasn't it? You know, it's production line processes, that kind of thing. That's where we've really focused process improvement. Creating materials, linking knowledge that we already have together. It's going to change project management significantly, because so much of project management is about ensuring the communication flows of all the information across a project. Well, the AI is going to do that faster and better in many cases than we can see, you know, from individual. In the next, you know, months rather than years, as the AI tools start to be deployed more widely, and they will be, because, you know, Copilot will be built into Microsoft Office. It already is if you pay them 20 quid a month, but I mean, you know, these things are coming in. Adobe Acrobat was updated last week, or last month rather, and now the Adobe Acrobat Reader has AI built into it by default. Yeah, you can ask it, loaded up a you know, a PDF, 100-page PDF, open in Acrobat Reader. You can just open the little AI summary thing and say, give me a summary. You know, tell me what the key points are relating to X, and it will read that 100-page document and spit out a half-page summary for you. instantly. So if you haven't updated Adobe Reader for the last few weeks, time to do that. Yeah. Okay. I've not stopped talking. You must have some questions. You must have some thoughts, some input. So I'm going to shut up now. So somebody open mic and tell me what you think, or what your fears are in all this. Okay. Marie, is Perplexity an LLM or is it a search engine? It's kind of a bit of both. Perplexity allow you to hook into any of the major LLMs, so you can choose to use Claude. So Perplexity will point at Claude and use Claude, or you can point at ChatGPT, or you can point at Gemini or Copilot. Yeah, so it's kind of a wrapper app, but then it also has these additional functions and features like pages that you don't get with Copilot or with ChatGPT or whatever. So it's a bit of both. But as a search engine, I mean, I just have it now on my toolbar, and when I need a search, I tend to just fire up Perplexity rather than using Google now, because I find that what it gives me is more readable and is sourced. Yeah, and it's not just a link. It's not just a set of links that I have to. So I'm finding it actually more intuitive to use and giving me a richer data set for most of the searches that I do now. So I don't know whether that helps, Marie. But yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Don't be shy. Yeah. Or are you all too busy clicking on links and playing? Aidan.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I've been in ChatGPT since it came out last year, and I followed the evolution from 3 to 3.5 to 4.0, and now 4.5 is actually appearing on the horizon. And what I find is that the confidence can change. So the importance of that instruction that you give it is vital. Have you any tips or techniques on how to construct the perfect question? Because when I get the answer, I have the eureka moment, and I suddenly kind of go, well, if I'd have thought about that 20 minutes ago, I'd have given a much better question. Any tips or techniques?
I mean, there's a number of different models for prompting, and if I go back to my Notion document here, I've given you a few of them towards the bottom. Here we are, prompt frameworks. Okay. Right. So role, task, format. Yeah, what's the task you want it to do? How do you want it to do it? What's the goal that you're trying to achieve? So there's these different kind of ways of doing it. So there is no one best approach, but you might try some of these little recipes, yeah, and combine that with the custom instructions, because the custom instructions just change its personality. So if you want it to respond in a very professional, clipped, concise tone, and you want to give it highly technical, information, and use the jargon of, chemical industry or whatever it is, it will do that. Yeah, and it will sound like a chemical engineer, yeah, or whatever it is. So there is no one answer to that. You need to set it up to be what you want it to be, and then it will kind of adopt that persona. And I think this is what we're going to see as well, is we're going to see people create instances of these GPTs with particular personas. So there will be a project management expert persona, and there will be a lean, expert in chemical engineering, lean projects or whatever, that's trained on that specific data set really, really highly. And will be kind of like going and asking a 20-year expert in that field questions. And I think that is going to be something that is going to come out big time over the next year or so. As these ChatGPT, as the bots, you can go to things like Poe, P-O-E, and a little bit further up there, I've got some links to Poe, I think, and that allows you to create your own chatbot. Okay, so then you can tell it, behave like this, reference these sources of information, okay, and then you can engage in dialogue, and it will reference the sources of information that you've put it against. There's another one called Dante.ai that does similar things, and again, there's links to these in the Notion document. So yeah, there's no right answer, but this is why prompt engineering is becoming a thing. I mean, you go over to the States now, you can get paid 300-400K a year to be a good prompt engineer. It's one of those current roles that is attracting a lot of money now in different industries. So don't know if that helps, Aidan.
Excellent. No, thank you. I love the idea, and when you pointed out that customizing ChatGPT, that's just absolutely phenomenal inside there. So if nothing else, thanks for that.
If you get one thing out of an hour like this, it's worth coming, isn't it? Yeah.
So, I've got more than one so far, so keep going.
Fabulous. I can see Praneet has his hand up, and then I don't know whether there's any. Oh, there's three. So Praneet, and then Owen, and then Ian. Owen. Yeah.
Hi, Joe. First of all, let me thank you for the amazing presentation. It was a really insightful way to look at so many angles in a very short period of time.
Yeah, so we can see each other better. There we are. Yeah.
So I just have like two questions. One is like as a professional in the business field, and second as a passionate researcher. The first question is regarding the business. So if we see today, we live in a globalized world, and we have to deal with people who are from different cultures, different background. Do you see like the kind of persona that you were referring earlier about project manager or chemical engineer? And so can AI really also help us in that personifying the culture part also into the field? Like if I am into addressing to a client who is from X and Y market, and how should I structure my email in that way, or to my team members? Do you think culture part also playing into that role?
Absolutely. I mean, my Smurfit classes are drawn from all over the world. I mean, I have a full-time class of 55 this year. 27 of them are from India. Okay. And we did an exercise, and we kind of said, right, write these emails. Yeah. Taking Indian culture into account. Now, I mean, I know that's a horribly wide kind of thing to say, because India is so big and there's lots of different cultures, in the different areas in India. But we just said, like, take Indian culture into account. Yeah. And then we asked the same question and said, take French culture into account. Yeah. And it gave us completely different answers. It took things and did them in different ways and stuff. So definitely there is a cultural element that you can, but if you've got to build it in, you've got to kind of make that part of the conversation and ask it to do that. But if you're dealing with multicultural teams and things, that's really, really useful stuff. I mean, you start dealing with, I don't know, the Saudis, or you start dealing with the guys in Malaysia or whatever, you've just got a new team that you've got to start working with. Yeah. Well, I would be punching in, okay, what's the etiquette around integrating a team from Malaysia with a team from Europe? And it comes up and it says, well, here's the main Malaysian holidays in the year. When you meet somebody from Malaysia for the first time, make sure you offer them a small present. These are things you should avoid in conversation. These are, and it knows this stuff. Yeah. Before, you had to go on a cultural training course, didn't you, to kind of figure that stuff out?
Exactly. This is kind of taking into a different ball game. And absolutely. Second question was regarding the research domain itself. How do you really see in the academic and research field, because a lot of concern has been raised on the way, let's say, the citations happens, and even the content, which is, let's say, if you remember just a short while back, many major authors have sued ChatGPT because it kind of taken the content directly from the books. Yeah. How does really academic research take this into context and move forward?
It's moving forward very fast. I mean, I've got a whole talk on academic research, and I'm teaching, a number of universities, PhD researchers, how to use AI more effectively. There are a slew of tools now that are available. Elicit, Consensus, Jenny. I mean, there's Site. There's loads of tools that are out there now aimed specifically at academic research that will point you at the peer-reviewed journal sources, that will allow you to integrate this stuff properly and cite it properly and all the rest of it. So just like all the other fields, we're getting a specialized set of tools that are being created for academic research, and there will be specialized tools that start to come out for Lean, and specialized tools that start to come out for Six Sigma and stuff like that. So I think they're just going to make pulling information together, relevant, appropriate information, so much faster than we've ever had it before. I mean, they are like super librarians that know every book in the world, and can surface that stuff so well. So it's a really exciting time to be involved in this stuff. We had both the Owens. I think Owen Brady was first, and then we'll go to Owen Brophy. So Owen Brady.
Hi, Joe. Just my experience with all of the AI, and when I'm working with it, I often find, it takes me several prompts to get something close to what I want.
Yes.
I have to go back and rewrite it. And although it's kind of quite useful, I look back after any task and I say, how much time did that actually save me? And I'm not too sure if it comes to maybe not much at all. In your experience, being the person that you are with a lot of experience with the AI tools, if you're just doing normal day-to-day tasks like writing books, like journals, preparing for class, and you're using AI, over the last 3 months, can you kind of maybe give me a rough guide? How much time do you think AI has actually saved you?
I used to go on a rule of thumb that it would take me about 3 hours of prep per hour of delivery. Yeah, that was my basic rule of thumb for research, for pulling decks together and materials together and all the rest of it. It's probably halved now. Yeah, I mean, I can pull material together, check it, assemble it, and then put it together in a presentable form, depending on what audience I'm going to be working with, far faster than I ever could before. Now, for stuff that is already part of my expert domain knowledge, just like I mean, maybe it's just as quick to write it myself. Yeah, but for stuff that I don't know very well, it breaks that blank page syndrome very quickly and gives me something to look at that then I can start to work on and go and check and say, well, I need more on this and I don't need that, and that's plain wrong, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's not a panacea, but I think if you start to use it appropriately, and know when it's amplifying your weaker areas, if you like, you can allow it to supercharge those while still playing to your own strengths.
And is that curve of time saved, is that tending to go up for you all the time as you get more and more experience and the tools become better?
Yeah, because the tools are getting better and faster, and I'm finding more tools out. So I'm building up a library of tools and becoming aware of those. So my toolbox is getting bigger, if you like, because I'm discovering more tools. And as long as I can remember that those tools do those things when I need to do those things again, amazing. I mean, I was generating automated training video this morning using a new tool that I only came across yesterday, but just gobsmackingly good. And it puts me out of a job in 3 months. I uploaded a photo of myself and a script, and it gave me a talking head that looked just like me and sounded just like me in like 30 seconds. Terrifying stuff. So yeah, the tools are getting better and better all the time.
Thanks.
But I think domain knowledge is going to be key, to kind of guide the use of this stuff. So, okay. Owen Brophy.
Yeah, no, thanks very much. No, it's really interesting. We're in the middle of doing a sort of co-pilot trial in Tirlon as well. So we've kind of found something similar where there's some times where it's not saving us much time at all, but it's giving us maybe more better and more effective sort of answers. But then you find one or two things that they'd save me a day, and I think that'll only get better and better. I think my question is on a wider scale with regulation with sort of countries and like I know here that's always a big topic, and the EU seems to be ahead of the game in that sense with the I'm wondering how strong even is that regulation, and how much will that need to be updated as time goes by. But then even on a company level, I was just clicking the links to Perplexity and it's blocked. I can't see it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
there's lots of stuff then with companies where it takes us a long time to be able to try these things because they're blocked by, and again, there's a balance between that's the right way to do it, but the technology is moving so fast. If you don't get in quickly, you could fall behind very quickly as well.
Yeah, and I think this is something all companies are going to have to deal with. Quite rightly, the IT guys in most companies are just going to put a block on a lot of this stuff, because otherwise everybody's playing and not working and potentially sharing information that they shouldn't be doing and all the rest of it. Yeah, I'm on the AI committee for University College Dublin, and they've 50,000 students. I mean, it's a big deal, deciding what tools we give people access to and how they can use them and all the rest of it. So these are not small decisions, and I know that companies are taking their time, but I also know that the biggies like Microsoft are building very, very strong kind of guardrails, so the corporate enterprise versions of MS Project, MS Office and Copilot and stuff, create an intranet, a sandbox where your data doesn't go out, so it is protected and stuff. But these tools are still in their infancy, and they started to do this less than a year ago. So to get it to trickle down to the SME level, we're in the next year to 2 years before that stuff is going to be generally out there. So I think it's a matter of, if you need to learn this stuff, you've almost got to learn it on your own time at the moment. Yeah. And I would encourage people to do that, because I think this will amplify your marketability in the marketplace, and also mean that you get a seat at the table when your company is ready to actually start looking at this properly. And I know that I'm getting regular invitations now to go and talk to boards of management and stuff like that, and they don't even know what questions to ask at the moment, because the technology is moving so fast, and they don't want to go wrong, but at the same time they're worried. So I think we have to start having these conversations, but it's going to be slow, even though AI is moving fast. It's really strange.
Joe, that might be a good place to, it's a minute or two. That hour absolutely flew past. Just to echo the fact that I think we could talk about this for the whole day. Other companies might want to talk about this, in their own space, and what the implications are, and like Joe was there for that. Joe, thanks again. That was really fantastic. Let us know if you want to hear more from Joe or anybody else. We have the LinkedIn page. You've got somebody have my contact details direct, but Dublin Lean Network. There is a survey out there. Just I think Ray was on the call from DCU, and we're just looking to see what the people want out of the network as well. Our whole goal here is to connect companies and talk about the issues, the challenges that you're struggling with, particularly around the whole process improvement area. So if you have any ideas around that, places you want to visit as well, we'll try and set up some more of those. Let us know, and we'll do our best to put on those events for you. So 2:00. Thanks a million, Joe.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for organising everything. Thanks to the Fingal
Thanks,
Chamber
Joe.
for supporting this event as well. And thank you all for attending.
Okay. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much.